Welcome to Reading Africa. Today we're going to read about the Mossi Kingdoms. The Mossi Kingdoms, sometimes referred to as the Mossi Empire, were a number of different powerful kingdoms in the modern-day Burkina Faso, which dominated the region of the Upper Volta River for hundreds of years. The kingdoms were founded when warriors from the Mapusi area in modern-day Ghana moved into the area and intermarried with local people. Centralization of the political and military powers of the kingdoms began in the 13th century and led to conflicts between the Mossi kingdoms and many of the other powerful states in the region. The origins of the Mossi state are claimed by one prominent oral tradition to come from when a Mapusi princess left the city of Kabanga because of a dispute with her father. This event dates in different oral histories to be any time between the 11th and 15th century. According to the story, the Princess Yenenga escaped dressed as a man when he came to the house of an elephant hunter from the Bonsansi tribe named Riley. He initially believed she was a man, but one day she revealed that she was a woman and the two married. They had a son named Bodriogo, or Odraogo, who was given the name from the horse that Ninenga escaped from Kabanga. Wadriogo visited his grandfather in Dagomba at the age of 15 and was given 4 horses, 50 cows, and a number of Dagomba horsemen joined his forces. With these forces, Wadriogo conquered the Busansi tribes, married a woman named Paul Iriketa, who gave him 3 sons, and built the city of Te Kodongo. The oldest was Diaba Lompo, who founded the city of Fada Guama. The second son was Rawa, who became the ruler of Sodoma province. His third son, Zungrana, became the ruler in Te Kodongo after Wadriogo died. Zungrana married Pohui Tenga, a woman sent from the chief of the Ninisi tribes, and the resulting intermarriage between the Dagomba, the Busansi, and the Ninisi produced a new tribe called the Mossi. Zungrana and Poitenga had a son, Aubrey, who further expanded the kingdom by conquering the Kibisi and some Gurunsi tribes. Aubrey, who ruled from about 1050 until 1090 CE, is often considered the founder of the Ouagadougou dynasty, which ruled from the city of Ouagadougou. Following Aubrey's centralization and small-scale expansion of the kingdoms was the primary task. The Ouagadougou dynasty retained control in Ouagadougou, but the other kingdoms established by the sons of Wadriogo retained independence in Te Kodongo, Fada Guioma, and Sodoma. Under the 5th ruler, Komdiimi, in 1170 CE, 2 revolutions were started by members of the Ouagadougou dynasty, with the establishment of the kingdom of Yatenga to the north and the establishment of the kingdom of Rizin. War between Kodime and Yatenga lasted for many years, with Yatenga eventually taking over the independent Mossi state of Sodoma. At the same time, Komdimi created a new level of authority for his sons, taking over the independent Mossi state of Sodoma as dimas of separate provinces with some autonomy, but recognizing the sovereignty of the Ouagadougou dynasty. This system of taking over territory and appointing sons as dimas would last for many of the future rulers. Increasing power of the Mossi regions resulted in larger conflict with the regional powers. The kingdom of Yatenga became a key power, attacking the Songhai Empire between 1328 and 1447, taking over Timbuktu and sacking the important trading post of Messina. When Askia Mohammed I became the leader of the Songhai Empire with a desire to spread Islam, he waged a holy war against the Mossi Kingdom in 1497. Although the Mossi forces were defeated in these efforts, they resisted attempts to impose Islam. With the conquest of the Songhai by the Moroccans of the Saadi dynasty in 1591, the Mossi states re-established their independence. By the 18th century, the Mossi kingdoms had increased significantly in terms of economic and military power in the region. Foreign trade relations increased significantly throughout Africa, with significant connections to the Fula kingdoms and the Mali Empire. These relations included military attacks on many times, with the Mossi being attacked by a variety of African forces. Although there were a number of jihad states in the region trying to forcibly spread Islam, namely the Messina Empire and the Sokoto Caliphate, the Mossi kingdoms largely retained their traditional religious and ritual practices. Domestically, the Mossi kingdoms distinguished between the Nakombes and the Ningibisi. The Nakombes claimed lineage connections to the founders of the Mossi kingdoms and the power of Nam, which gave them the divine right to rule. The Tengibisi, in contrast, were considered the people who lived in the region who became assimilated into the kingdoms and could never get access to Nam. However, because of their connection to the area, they do have Tenga, which allows them to decide over issues related to land. The rulers Nam and the support of Tenga were connected in a two-way dimension of power in society. Being located near many of the main Islamic states of West Africa, the Mossi Kingdom developed a mixed religious system recognizing some authority for Islam while returning earlier ancestor-focused religious worship. The king participated in two great festivals, one focused on the genealogy of the royal lineage and the other on sacrifices to the Tenga. Although they had initially resisted Islamic imposition, the Mossi Kingdom and its people retained independence from the main Islamic states of the West Africa. They began to be a sizable number of Muslims living in the kingdom. In Ouagadougou, the king assigned an imam who was allowed to deliver readings of the Quran to the royalty in exchange for recognizing the genealogical power of the king. The Mossi kingdoms were therefore organized around 5 different kingdoms: the Ouagadougou, the Tekondongo, the Fadanuoma, and the Sodoma, later replaced by the Yatenga and Busoma. However, there were as many as 19 additional lesser Mossi kingdoms, which retained connection to one of the 4 main kingdoms. Each of these retained significant domestic autonomy and independence, but shared kinship, military and ritualistic bonds with one another. Each kingdom had similar domestic structures with kings, ministers, and other officials, and a high degree of centralization of administrative functions. There were prominent rivalries between the different kingdoms, namely between Yatenga and Ouagadougou. Ouagadougou was often considered the primary Mossi kingdom ruled by Moronaba, but was not the capital of the Mossi kingdoms as each retained autonomy. The first European explorer to enter the empire was German Gottlob Kraus in 1888. This was followed by a British expedition in 1894 led by George Ferguson, who convinced the Mossi leaders to sign a treaty of protection. Despite this, the French entered the area in 1896 and renounced the Treaty of Protection to conquer the Mossi Kingdoms and make it part of the Upper Vault colony. The French had already conquered or taken over all of the surrounding kingdoms which trapped the Mossi Kingdoms. The last king of Ouagadougou, named Wombo or Wobongo, was warned a day before the French forces were going to attack the city, and so sent a small force to meet them in battle as he fled the city. The French fired 4 shots in the air, which caused the Mossi foes to scatter, but Wobongo was able to escape capture. The French made Wobongo's brother Kouka the king of Ouagadougou and allied with Yatenga to try and capture Wobongo. When the French and British agreed on the boundary between their colonies, Wobongo lost his main support system and retired with the British pension in Zongoiri in the Gold Coast, where he died in 1904. As a result of the significant centralization of the kingdoms, the French largely caved to the administration, making of the Moro Naba of the Mossi Kingdoms in Ouagadougou the primary leaders of the region, creating 5 ministers under him that governed different regions within the new French colony. This is the end of the reading of the Mossi Kingdom. Thank you for listening.